Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Dornsife Discover program, and thank you for joining us. My name is Nikki Howell, and I'm an Assistant Director of Admission here at the Dornsife College of Letters, Arts, and Sciences. We are so thrilled to have you join us today as we explore both the social sciences and the humanities fields here at USC. Today's event is being hosted by the Dornsife Office of Undergraduate Admission and Student Success. Today, actually, a few of my colleagues from the office will be helping me host today's event, and we'll be answering some of your questions today in the Q&A box. So even if you cannot see them, know that they're there working hard on getting all of your questions answered. Before we get started, just a quick little logistics for today's event. While this is a webinar and you will have the opportunity to ask questions through today's Q&A box, I kindly ask that you will hold on to your questions for now. First, I'd like to kick things off by introducing some very special guests who will be helping me throughout today's session. So let's bring out our student panelists so you can meet the current USC Dornsife students who will be sharing their experiences with you. Panelists, if you have not done so already, can you please turn on your cameras and joining me on screen? Hello, everybody. We are going to start off with some student introductions. I would love to hear your name, your year in school currently, your hometown, majors and minors, and maybe 2 to 3 important activities that you do here on campus. And let's start off in alphabetical order. Angela, I'm going to start with you.
I'm super happy to be here. My name's Angela. I'm a double major in psychology and PR and advertising. PR and advertising is in Annenberg, but I never wanted to give up my Dornsife major. And I'm from the Bay. I don't know if I already said this, but I'm a junior. I don't have any minors, but I'm a Dornsife ambassador. Last year I was on the training team. Last year I was on the diversity team, and now I'm a training team lead. I'm also part of the Asian American Tutorial Project. And on the side, I also am part of the Social Impact Center where we do expungement clinics, all those fun things. And up until recently, I wanted to be a lawyer, but now I'm not really sure what I want to do. Maybe something in PR, something in marketing, but it's all in the unknown right now.
That is okay. You don't always have to know what you want to do just yet. But thank you, Angela. I appreciate that. And Brooke, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Hey, hi, everyone. I also want to echo Angela's sentiment. I'm so happy to be here. My name is Brooke. I'm a current sophomore at USC studying English, creative writing, and political science. And I'm actually from the area. I'm from Koreatown in LA, so I'm super, super local. So it's really nice to not be super far away from home. And a couple extracurriculars I'd like to highlight that I've been a part of so far. I'm a part of the undergraduate student government, a part of the communications team. So I'm the assistant director of creative services. And I'm also a part of the Korean American Student Association as the marketing head. And I'm also an art and design staffer at the Daily Trojan. And yeah, I don't think I'm missing anything, but yeah, feel free to ask any questions. Oh yeah, wait, sorry, career goal. I am also a little bit unsure, but right now, because I have a lot of interest in marketing, I'm thinking of combining that with my political science degree to hopefully do like maybe some political campaign marketing. But yeah, we shall see.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brooke. Dustin, I'd love to hear from you next.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to be here. So I'm Dustin Velasquez. I'm a sophomore here at USC. I'm from Palm Springs, California. I'm studying Spanish alongside a minor in Latin American Studies. A couple of things I do around campus is I'm part of SUSA, our Spanish Undergraduate Student Association. I'm a counselor for Troy Camp, one of our student-led organizations here on campus. And I'm an intern in the USC Dornsife Office of Admissions and Student Success. And my career goal is I want to be a teacher. I'm on the pre-teaching track right now. And just right now deciding if I want to do K through 12, K through 5, or if I want to do high school, but that's a problem for a graduate school.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dustin. And lastly, Sophie, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sophie. I'm also a sophomore. I'm studying economics and I'm on the pre-law track, and I'm declaring 2 minors. So one is law and psychology and one is AI applications. I am from San Diego, California, so not too far. And I'm on the pre-law track, so I want to be a lawyer. Am I missing anything?
No, that's perfect.
Okay,
Thank you,
perfect.
Sophie. More questions will come, but that's great for now. So thank you all for those wonderful introductions. For those of you watching today, these are 4 students are really going to be helpful in providing those student current pieces and perspectives to give you some more specific information on some of the activities and involvements that they've mentioned that are available for you here on campus. But before we get started with our questions, I'd like to briefly share some information about USC and the Dornsife College of Letters, Arts, and Sciences that will be helpful for you as you continue to explore your educational journey throughout your application season. So USC is a university made up of 23 distinct schools and colleges, each with their own area of focus, from business to cinema and more. Here at USC Dornsife, we are actually the college dedicated to the liberal arts. We are proud to be both the oldest and the largest college on campus, offering over more than 90 different majors and minors. Now, those 180 different minors and majors that I mentioned span across the humanities and social sciences, which we will be focusing on today, but we also oversee the study of our natural science majors. Now, even though we are a large school, one of the things Dornsife does best is provide a small college feel while offering personalized attention at the benefits of a larger research institution. So we achieve this by keeping a student-faculty ratio of 8-to-1 and an average class size of about 17 students. Our faculty across disciplines here really embrace a teaching philosophy rooted in interdisciplinary learning. And so this means that as a student, you're actually encouraged to take classes not only within your major, but across different academic fields as well, giving you as a student a well-rounded and dynamic education that will prepare you as a critical thinker to a skilled public speaker and more. These are skills that are really going to help you and that you'll carry on with you even after graduation. There are also plenty of opportunities to take your learning beyond the classroom with things like study abroad, which is to either take your studies domestically or internationally for an entire semester, an entire year, or even just a month, often called a Maymester or Julymester by our students. We offer over 55 different study abroad programs in 30 different countries. Here at USC, we're also classified as an R1 research institution. This is the highest level of research activity available. And here at USC, we have 66 affiliated research centers that you can become involved in. There are so many different ways that you can get involved at research at the undergraduate level across disciplines, and we will touch on research today a little bit as well. Other opportunities include service learning or the opportunity to get hands-on experiences and volunteer service positions within the greater Los Angeles community. And of course, students will have many areas of support within their professional development as well. Dornsife offers pre-professional advising in areas such as pre-law or pre-grad, and then we also have dedicated career centers specifically tailored to our liberal arts students to help prepare them for careers in the liberal arts or really whatever it is that they're most passionate in going into. Over the next hour, we are going to touch on all of these bases and learn more about our student panelists today. And like I said in the beginning, we will be sure to make time at the end to answer any questions that you all have. But for now, that's a little bit on our introduction and overview. I'm now going to turn it back to our students so they can tell us a little bit about why they chose the major they are pursuing here at USC and what they really love about it. So I'm going to call on Sophie first. Could you tell us a little bit about your major and why you chose it? And I think you just said that you also added those new minors. So love to hear about that as well.
Yeah, so I wanted to mention that I actually came into USC with a different major than what I am now. So I started as an applied math major, and then I completely switched gears and went to economics and pre-law. So I want to emphasize that, like, just because you're entering with one major, you say you want to study one major, you're not tied to that at all. USC and USC advising is very, very good at like helping you with anything you need in terms of like changing your major, what classes you should take. And I have some friends who have changed their major multiple times as well. So I chose economics because I think I'm definitely more of like a qualitative person, which is why I was doing applied math. But then I decided I wanted to do pre-law, so I feel like economics kind of fit with that. But I didn't want to limit myself to just economics because I'm interested in so many different things. So I wanted to also study psychology, and they had this really cool major called law and psychology that I discovered last semester. So I'm declaring my that as a minor now, and then I'm also curious about AI and the future of everything. Even though I'm pre-law, it's not like directly correlated yet. AI is really like coming into every single field, so I feel like I need to know a little bit about it, which is why I decided to also do the AI applications minor. So there's a lot going on, but USC really allows you to explore every single thing like you're interested in.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sophie. Brooke, I'm going to pass it over to you next. I know you also are a double major, so similar to Sophie, there's a lot of different things that you like to explore and study as well. Could you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. So for me, I came in as an English creative writing major, or actually, I actually came in as an English literature major, but I decided to switch tracks. But for me, I chose to come in with English just because I had a lot of interest in. I originally wanted to do like design, so I was actually even considering transferring into art and design school called Roski. But then I ended up taking a political science course as a part of like a GE credit, which I know we'll talk about a little bit later. So I ended up really, really loving the course. And then I ended up declaring that second major because I also knew that I was interested in social justice and I felt like it aligned really closely with that major. So I decided to, meet with my advisor. And I think like I also echo what Sophie was saying, like it was really, really easy to meet and work with my advisor and express that, this is something that I've been interested in. And it was actually really like good to meet with my advisor because she was really supportive and helping me figure out like what classes I needed to be like taking during my spring semester last year in order to like officially declare that and making sure that I'm on track to graduate within the 4 years. So yeah, it's been really amazing. The courses have been really, really interesting, and I really love that I can kind of see a little bit of the overlap in both of my fields of study, but also in the things I'm also interested in. So that's been my experience, and I've been really loving it so far.
Wonderful. I'm so glad you're loving it. Dustin, I'm going to pass it over to you next.
All right. So for me, I came in with the Spanish major. That's what I applied with. It's what I've stuck through with. During my time here, well, I'll talk about it a little bit later too. USC does a really good job of making sure like you have the ability to dip your toes into other fields. And so I did like add a couple majors, drop a couple majors. And now like the reason I always chose Spanish was in high school, I really just fell in love with Spanish literature and cinematography. And I took a bunch of dual enrollments. And so when I got here, I was like, no, like this is something I want to do. Might as well just like keep studying it. And then adding the Latin American Studies minor was just something that also intrigued me, like getting to know more of like the political science and international relations aspect of it, which is not like I knew it was something I didn't want to like focus completely in for studying, but being able to take that minor on really was just a good like educational opportunity I found and fell in love with.
Thank you, Dustin. And lastly, Angela, I'm going to pass it over to you. You mentioned in the beginning you have a major outside of Dornsife as well. So I'd love if you could mention that a little bit. Let us know how that process was.
Yeah, of course. So I entered USC as a Dornsife major, psychology, and I declared pre-law my first semester. And that's always really easy with your academic advisor. And then later I realized that I could have graduated a semester early, but I didn't want to do that. So I was kind of weighing my options, whether it's like adding a minor or doing the progressive master's program. And because psychology isn't something I wanted to like do further research in or get a PhD in, that master's program wasn't necessarily for me. However, I do think it's a great opportunity. And I thought I chose between business and everything, but PR is something that I thought was so unique. I was also inspired by Samantha in Sex and the City. And I thought it was so cool. And Annenberg is like the #1 or #2 journalism school in the country. So it's a great opportunity to add that in. And it was super quick and super easy with the discussions I had with my academic advisor. So everything went really smoothly. And they give you a great path to make sure you have your courses in order and that you still graduate on time. So yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you all for sharing that little bit of information about your majors and your minors. For those of you all watching today, I know you're all probably looking and deciding on what majors you will be applying to when you submit your application. So it is important to note that you are able to pick a first and a second choice major if you would like to when submitting that common application. And of course, your major will be the bulk of the classes that you take here at USC. But when you first start your classes here in college, you'll start to take your general education classes, or as we like to call it, the USC core classes. Lots of times, general education can lead to a new passion or new interest, like Brooke was sharing earlier, and eventually even turn into a minor or double major. So I'm going to turn it back over to you all. If you can talk to us a little bit about your general education experience or what you've liked about it. I will start first with Brooke.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that I really enjoy about having GEs that every Dornsife major needs to take is that we all kind of have a shared like groundwork or like baseline experience of like being able to understand different aspects of studies, if that makes sense. Like, for example, we all have to take like a GE in qualitative reasoning, and I feel like just having that like common baseline to share with like students that you're in classrooms with is really interesting, because otherwise I feel like I would have never met a lot of the students that I know that are in such different majors as mine, even if we all might be in Dornsife. So I think that's something that I think is really, really helpful and fruitful in having GEs. And also there's just like such a good and interesting array of GEs that you can take. Like I'm taking one for my qualitative GE on like research on mindfulness, which I think is so interesting and is a really interesting way to think about like the qualitative reasoning behind such a subject that I feel like you wouldn't necessarily associate with that. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brooke. Sophie, I'm going to pass it over to you next.
Yeah, I think GEs are, I mean, they're super helpful if still a little bit unsure about like what you want to do. It's a good way to like dip your toes into everything. But beyond that, my experience with GEs is honestly, they're fun. They're a break from like my major classes. And I get to learn like pretty niche like topics that I never would have thought of. So for example, last semester I took a class on diversity in the context of like Broadway, and I've never been into musical theater. I didn't really like know anything about it, but I got a deep dive into like the history of musical theater, like the issues surrounding it, like basically got a run through of a lot of Broadway shows. So now I'm super interested in it, and I went to a theater production with some people I met in the class, and it was just a really nice break for that like 1.5 hours that I was in that class every Tuesday and Thursday from like my math classes, from my econ classes, from everything else. So I think it doesn't have to be super serious. Like you don't have to take a GE that's technically going to like, count towards your major, or, like help you with something like specific, but you can also look at it as just something fun to do.
Wonderful. I think that's a couple great points, that it doesn't always have to be super crazy hard classes. They're just fun ways to get some different avenues of knowledge too. Angela, I'm going to pass it over to you next.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything Brooke and Sophie, sorry, has said so far. But also, I think like you get a little taste of everything with the GEs, because like you're required to take something in every field, whether that's science or math or English and something like that. And like I've taken one in American Studies. I never thought I would ever like do anything in that field, but I learned so much about the history of American culture and the mixed race culture. It was a class called Race and Mixed Race. I definitely recommend you guys look into it. I think it was like AMST 215 or something. She was an amazing professor, and you learn so much about the history of your school, of your culture, of everything that goes on in the world that you might not have learned before. and even being able to relate to your friends in a different major. Like I've taken a environmental science class, but I'm definitely not that major, but I've been able to discuss topics with my friend who is an environmental science major. So being able to relate to other people and just exploring topics that you might not have been able to do before is a wonderful opportunity the GE courses provide.
Thank you for sharing that. One thing that I want to briefly mention before we head over to you, Dustin, is that here at USC, we actually have a alternative honors general education called thematic option, or TO, as it's commonly referred to as you all on campus. And it is USC's way of kind of centering the general education around interdisciplinary approaches to really develop a student's abilities to think critically about the things around them. I'll leave it there, and Dustin, I'm going to pass it off to you. If you could talk to us a little bit about your experience in the thematic options program.
Yeah, so TO is a great program we have here at USC. It's open to any student at USC. It's not just a Dornsife Pacific major. So that's one thing I really enjoy about it. Like I made a lot of friends who I don't think I would have ever talked to outside, since like they're in like say Viterbi or Annenberg, and it's like it's not anything I would ever want to like outreach, but it's just it's an alternative pathway. So instead of doing the traditional gen eds, we take 6 classes inside of TO, which are core classes. We still have 4 general education classes we have to take outside. Our acronym is CAFE because it's for C, A, F, and E, but those are the ones you take outside. Thematic options is more really for anyone who, instead of wanting to take the traditional approach of gen eds like science, math courses like that, it's more thematic in a sense. Every course that's offered every semester by each professor has a different theme. So the classes I've taken so far, like for Core 102, one of our introductory classes, I did the Art of Rebellion and the Rebellion of Art and Love. And so like it was a class I took with Professor Handley. He's a good professor. I really recommend him. And we just read a bunch of different scriptures or books from throughout history and saw how in every sort of rebellion, love is part of it and like the art that comes out of that. And then alongside we have our Core 111 and 112, which help satisfy our writing requirements as students at USC. And for me, like my Core 112 class, my theme was Think of the Children. So all of the texts that we read were about the way that society has over time had an impact on children and the way we view them, respect them, and how we like see that they should be treated. And so having done TO has like just helped me a lot, being able to see that there's different courses and different themes that you can look at. And since I haven't taken a gen ed yet because of that approach, it's giving me a little bit more time to relax and be like, oh, this is like a writing class that I actually want to do right now, instead of having to worry about like taking a science right now alongside all my major requirements.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dustin. The next thing I want to talk about a little bit is some career preparation. So, in addition to our academics, we have pre-professional emphasis or tracks that you can add to your major. And these are the areas of pre-health. So, for students who are interested in going into a health career or med school, we have pre-law. So, for students who are interested in going into law school, or maybe if you just like to look at your academics through a legal perspective. And then we also have pre-grad. So, for any student who's interested in continuing their higher education and going to grad school. So, Sophie, I'm going to turn it over to you. I wanted to see if you could talk to us a little bit about your pre-professional emphasis and how the program has been going for you.
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, I am on the pre-law track. So what that means is basically you just get access to a ton of resources, and you get access to a pre-law advisor, and there's an email list with they host like information sessions with law schools. So it's really just an avenue that if you're interested in law school, even if you're not 100% sure, even if you think you might just be a little bit interested in law school, you can just declare the pre-law emphasis. It's not like it's not like saying you have to go to law school if you are on the pre-law track. It's more like, yeah, it just gives you a bunch of resources to explore and then further realize that maybe this is for you or this isn't for you. So for me, I have been in contact with like the pre-law advisor on various issues, like whether I should be changing my major to this, or like just various questions I had about what it means in like what my academics mean in the context of law school, because I don't have any lawyers in my family or anything like that. So I think just a resource like that is super helpful. I have some friends on the pre-health track and also the grad school tracks as well, and their experiences are similar to mine. So yeah, don't think that if you say you want to be pre-law or pre-health, you're like binded to that. You definitely are not. I think you can also be pre-law and pre-health and get access to all of those resources. So
Wonderful. Thank you, Sophie. Yes, and in addition, you do not have to be maybe a law-centered student, so such as a political science student, to be in pre-law. It's available to any student of any major. So thank you for sharing that little piece. There's so much more to the Dornsife experience than just sitting inside the classroom. And so I want to make sure that you all listening today really get a chance to hear about some of these things. So I'm going to change gears just a little bit and start exploring some of our experiences outside of the classroom. I mentioned in the beginning some of our main areas that we really like to hone in are research, service learning, and internships. So I'm going to have our students talk a little bit about their experiences in these areas. So first, I'm going to start with research. I mentioned earlier as well, we are R1 tiered research institution. So there are lots of ways to get involved in research in whatever it is you'd like to really here at USC. And I will leave it at that. Brooke, I'm going to pass it over to you first. If you could talk to us a little bit about the research that you participated in here.
Yeah, I'd love to. So over this past summer, actually, I was a research assistant for one of my TAs in my poli-sci class that I took second semester. So I was a research assistant under the political science department. And yeah, a little bit to like how I was able to get that experience. I was obviously always in class or discussion section, as we call it, with my TA in my poli-sci class. And at the end of the semester, she's like mentioned that she was looking for research assistants, and I reached out. And each person or professor or TA that you will work with will have a different process. But my TA asked for an interview and my cover letter and my resume. And yeah, it's kind of history from there. But I did research in political parties and the turnovers that they have. So how different countries have different political parties and how they change over time and what that looks like for the citizens of that country. So it was really interesting. I did it over the summer while balancing another internship that I actually got through USC, but that's like a whole nother thing. But yeah, I really loved working with my TA. And for me personally, I don't know if I will continue doing research as a professional like career, but I think it was really interesting to see the research that I did and learning about the topics that I did, and also getting the applicable skills of like working with Excel, communicating with my TA, and communicating with the other research assistant that I was working with. So I think all in all, I was provided a really fruitful and great opportunity that I won't ever take for granted.
That's amazing. Thank you, Brooke. Dustin, you are someone who shared that you might be interested in getting into research at a later point. Could you talk to us a little bit about some of the ways students in your major might get involved in research?
Yeah, so you like the first thing I always thought about research is that it's only gonna be like people who are studying in a natural science or a social science, like things who like you would actually be in a lab. And then when I got to USC, like for me it was interesting and shocking to see that although I am a humanities major, there's still a lot of different research opportunities available to like us humanities. There we go. And so for me, like the easiest way that I've been able to start researching what I would want to do or like what I want to get involved with, specifically for my major in Spanish, is looking at the Center for Languages and Cultures. A lot of my professors have had active research inside of it. So, like my first semester last year at USC, my first semester at USC last year, there we go. One of my freshman professors was starting their was doing research that semester, and so me trying to like get involved and trying to see what was going on, I really started like creating a bond with her, a mentorship bond, and then getting to learn more about what type of research she was doing and the way that the school promotes it was interesting to me. And so, knowing that's like it's something I want to go into possibly directly and how students are supported through it with our Serve for Sort programs, which are just little ways to help students feel that their support, not feel, helps students be supported through, financially doing research. So you don't have to stress about taking on a research opportunity without being like monetarily supported, knowing that the school's backing you up with these programs set in place to help promote the idea of research for everyone, no matter what major you're in.
Amazing. Thank you, Dustin, for giving us that little explanation. Next thing I want to talk about is internships. So internships are a wonderful way to sort of dip your toes into the water. I feel like that's been a big theme today and kind of test out an area that you might be interested in career-wise, and a wonderful way to make connections and mentorships as well. And they can either be available to students on campus or through campus partners, or even off campus with companies or foundations that a student wishes to work with. Sophie and Angela, I know that you both had some really cool experiences with internships. So I'd love to hear a little bit from you. Let's start it off with Sophie. If you could tell us a little bit more about how you found your opportunities.
Yeah, so I guess the internship I'll talk about is I was interning through the pre-law project, which is a part of Dornsife's joint educational project. So what that is JEP, Joint Educational Project, is a form of experiential learning. So that means taking like what you learn on campus and then like applying it to the South Central community, which is where USC is located. So specifically with the pre-law project, what they do is they pair you with a nonprofit organization in the surrounding community that focuses on some sort of legal issue. And then you get to intern for the semester through USC, but you're really interning for that external organization. So more specifically, what I did is I interned for PESA, which is Parents, Educators, Students in Action. And basically, it's just a program that deals with juveniles who are going through the justice system and diverts them from the traditional forms of justice, like going through the state court and things like that, and then diverts them into a teen court system that we created, where they're judged by a jury of their peers, which is other teenagers. So we work directly with high schools throughout like the South Central community, throughout Los Angeles in general. And what my role was in that was to guide these high schoolers in how to be a just jury for these other teenagers who are on trial. And basically they give them a sentence, but instead of punitive measures, it's more like, oh, let's do some community service. And this student seems like they're interested in pursuing this career. Let's set them up with a professional in that field and have them work with them like for a certain number of hours a week. And then once they complete that sentence, then it's wipe off their record and they have an opportunity to start over. So it was a really, really cool opportunity. And I was connected with PESA, which is an amazing organization through USC and through Dornsife in specific. So there's tons of things like that. Even if you're not pre-law, there's a similar thing for pre-health. And JEP operates in a lot of different subjects. So there's a pathway for everyone through that. And I know there's other internships besides JEP, but that's just the experience that I had.
That sounds like a wonderful experience, Sophie. Thank you for sharing. Angela, I'm going to pass it over to you if you could talk to us a little bit about your internship experience.
I actually did the same internship as Sophie as part of the JEP pre-law project. And I was also in PESA and we did teen court and you get to be in person. I traveled all the way to Long Beach for one of them and you get to write police summaries. I think it's a great way to interact with the legal field because a lot of firms or offices don't hire undergraduates because they often require JDs or some other advanced law degree. However, at USC, you're able to get in touch with that profession in a way that I think other universities might not offer the programs like this, especially like such a hands-on one. And you don't have to we worked with teachers and students, but there were opportunities to work with the Asian American community, the Latinx community, all of that. So there's various organizations under the pre-law project that you're able to interact with. I also did, because I'm a PR major, I also did various PR internships that I found through our wonderful website Handshake and of course LinkedIn. But like, it's just about applying. You applied a few hundred and you get like 3 back. But at the end, like, it's always about putting yourself out there, and USC gives you a great platform to do so, and connecting with your professors, with your peers, talking to people and making those connections is definitely a huge step in achieving those goals.
Wonderful. Thank you, Angela. We have just 1 or 2 more things that we are going to be talking about. So I wanted to let the audience know that our Q&A box is now open to ask questions. We will do our best to answer these questions aloud, but be sure, if you can, to check the tab of the answered tab, as our staff, like I mentioned in the beginning, is in the background working hard to make sure that you are all getting your questions answered. So with that, I'm going to move on to service learning. Service learning is a way that students can get involved and engage in the community by participating in the Los Angeles area, like we mentioned. And I will kind of leave it at that. We have wonderful programs that you can get involved in. I'm going to pass it off first to Dustin. If you could talk to us a little bit about some of the ways that students get involved in service learning and how you have gotten involved in service learning.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways to get involved with service learning on campus, whether it be like clubs or organizations or specific classes you're taking where it's a required part of it, or just finding a place online that's within the school and they just end up doing it. That one, some of the ones I've done, that like the most recent one, well, the first one I ever did for service learning was I was part of USC's Jumpstart program, which allowed me to work inside of a preschool my first semester last year, and like that was just a great way for me to like be hands-on, like working in early childhood education, seeing if it was something I really wanted to do. And then this year I became a counselor within Troy Camp, which is one of our student organizations, where we just help create a mentorship program for students in the LAUSD surrounding area, and just being able to be there for them in a mentorship way. And then at the end of the year, we go camping with them. And then one of the other programs I'm doing for one of my classes is with USC's Keck School of Medicine, which is the medical Spanish language instruction program, where I'm a Spanish tutor for medical students currently studying at Keck. And so I just help them create more practice as they would be once they're actually doctors, being able to converse in Spanish with patients. And like that's another way for me to just be able to help serve the area. And at the same time, I'm working in fields that I want to do in the future. There we go. And so it's just like USC does a great job of making sure there's ways to be having that hands-on approach to different avenues, and just looking around to being able to just give back without feeling that there's something that you're doing in return.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dustin. Before we start answering questions from the chat, I want to just give an opportunity for us to go around briefly, and maybe we can talk about our favorite club or activity on campus that you're a part of, either maybe if it's related to your major or to your career. And Brooke, I will start with you.
Okay. I have so many that I could talk about, but I'll talk about 2 specifically. In terms of like a club that kind of relates a little bit to my major, I actually just this semester I'm a part of the undergraduate student government here at USC, and it's been a really fruitful experience for me. I say that it kind of aligns with my major just because of my political science major. I think being able to be a part of an organization where the students care about making the changes that they hope to see on campus has been really inspiring. And seeing, all of our senators at work, and seeing like what everything they're passing and everything that they're working towards to create a more equitable campus has been really inspiring. And even though I'm like not a senator and I'm on the communications team, even just being a part of communications at USG has been really amazing, seeing how I can not only use my creativity, which is something that I've always like consider it as a passion and a part of me, to get the message, and to market what USG's mission is, to the broader student population has been really, really helpful and, honestly really insightful for me. And another one that I will talk about is the Korean American Student Association. We're one of the registered student organizations on campus, meant to champion Korean American voices here at USC. And I joined last semester, as an intern, but now I'm the marketing head or co-head. And it's been such an amazing experience to work with, people who are really passionate about, uplifting Korean American voices here at USC, and seeing how we can engage the community has been really, really like heartwarming, because I was really worried that I wouldn't find my community. So being able to know that there are my people out there, and that, I am able to be in community with those that, understand my experiences has been really, really amazing and a huge part of my USC experience so far.
Thank you for sharing that, Brooke. Appreciate it. Let's go next with Angela.
I think my favorite organization that I've been part of is definitely Dornsife Ambassadors. I started my first semester as a freshman, and you start off as an ambassador, and then you're able to like be part of like different leadership teams. Like I was on the diversity leadership team, and now I'm able to train the new class of freshmen that come in and become ambassadors. And it's just great to be able to talk to prospective students like you all, and just give a little insight about to people that were in my shoes. I was in their shoes, however that goes, a few years ago, and being on the other side of things. And I think it's truly, really fruitful, and it's really reflective. Like you see a little bit of yourself in the students you talk to. And I've done a few law clubs in the past, but I realized that they weren't for me. And I did a lot of clubs in high school, and I was kind of over it. So I started doing internships over the semesters. And there's so many opportunities to get involved in your community that's beyond clubs on campus as well.
Thank you for sharing. Next, I will go to Dustin.
Okay, so two clubs I would touch on a lot, or organizations that I've been part of. SUSA is like the main one. It's the Spanish Undergraduate Student Association. It's just a really great program that I've been involved with. And it's mostly open to any Spanish majors or Spanish majors, double majors, or minors. And for me, I found it like a really safe space for me, just because like nobody ever really tends to do Spanish as their main major. And so for me, it really felt a little bit lonely, like not having other students or peers who are doing the same study path as me. And so being able to be in a place where we're all like people who are studying the same thing, and are, though like we have different career goals, being able to talk about it. Like one of the things I really enjoy from it's our centros de mesas, or yeah. And it's like we just meet once a month, once a week, there we go, and we're just talking about random things. Like the whole time we're just talking in Spanish, and it's just promoting like the use of Spanish, talking about like the cultures that are around like Hispanohablantes. And so like it's just something that I really enjoy. And then the other like opportunity I've had is just being an intern at the Dornsife Office of Admissions, like being able to talk to prospective students, and just being there, like that like mentorship position has been really fun. And like I love my team, I love my supervisors. Like it's always just a good time, like coming to the office and being there, like working with them. Or if I'm bored, like I just go into the office, because it's such like a wonderful environment. And like I always know that that's a good support system I have. Like if I have any questions, no matter what it's about, I can go up to them and talk to them. And like knowing that if it's school related, they'll do the best they can to help me, or I'm just learning more stuff about the school overall, so that I can help other students, whether they be continuing students or prospective students.
Thank you, Dustin. Appreciate that. Sophie.
Yeah, so I think I have to say my favorite organization that I'm a part of. I joined it last year as a freshman. It's APASA, which is the Asian Pacific American Student Assembly. So coming into college, I knew that I wanted some sort of like organization that felt like a home away from home, like a place that I could call like my community, because I never really had that in high school. And a little bit of background, like I'm Kazakh from like Kazakhstan, so I didn't really know any Central Asians or anything. And yeah, I didn't really have a community to like feel like I belonged to in high school. So again, like I said, I was searching for that in college, and I joined a PASA, and I was scared that like because I was Central Asian, like I feel like a lot of Asian spaces are typically dominated by like the East Asian cultures, which I was afraid that I wouldn't belong, but it turned out to be the complete opposite. I really found like my place and my home within a PASA. And just for a little bit of context, a PASA is like an assembly under USG, which is what Brooke is a part of. So we fund like member organizations, and we hold like pretty big events on campus that is meant to like share APITA, which is Asian Pacific Islander Desi American voices and like our culture with other APITA students on campus and with the surrounding with like everyone on campus. So I think that's definitely been like the most rewarding club for me, and it's not directly related to my major by any means, but it's made me feel like I found my people, like my home and my closest friends on campus. And then besides that, I also joined a good amount of like pre-law organizations. I'm in like the Trojan Law Review, which is really cool. The fact that you can be a part of a law review in like undergrad, which is like usually something you only do in grad school. So I've been able to like write like law review notes, which is crazy, and like learn blue book citations, which if any of you guys are pre-law, you'll have to learn like in law school. So it's cool that I'm learning it now. Yeah. So I'm a part of a few other organizations, but I say those are like the highlights.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sophie. So I'm now going to start pulling from our Q&A box. We have a little bit of time, so I want to try to answer as many questions as we can. First question for anyone who would like to answer it. But you're also involved in so many exciting things. So how do you manage the work-life balance? And I will let anyone who wants to take this one start it off.
I can take that if nobody else minds. Okay, for me, I would say like the easiest way for time management is just a lot of people say Google Calendar. I love Apple Calendar personally, but just creating a calendar system and making sure that you always have everything organized. The last thing you want to do is forget you have an assignment due and cramming it right before it's due. If you have already your classes on your calendar and then you create time for when you want to study, when you want to be involved with other activities, it just helps you be so much more proactive and ready for what you want to do so that you're not stressing out last minute. It's like, although it is like a play hard, work hard mentality, like there is always time for you to get everything done. Like there's a good work-life balance. Like you're not always worrying about just getting your classes done or hanging out with your friends, or if you have a job on campus, like there's always enough time if you plan yourself out accordingly. So it's just more of just honing in on your time management skills and trying to avoid the procrastination that we all tend to fall into.
I think that was a wonderful answer. Thank you, Dustin. Sophie, this question is for you next. Someone is asking, how is the professional Greek life on campus?
Oh, yeah. So I'm also a part of the pre-law fraternity on campus. It's Phi Alpha Delta or PAD. And it's a great experience. I've made a lot of friends through it. I've met a lot of people who are also on the pre-law track or similar with similar interests to mine through it. It's it's very chill compared to like there's no like application process. It's very good for like community building, and like mostly it's good for friendships and like making connections within whatever pre-professional emphasis you have. So I'm part of the pre-law frat, but there's like also pre-health, there's leadership, there's like foreign service, just lots of different options for whatever you're interested in, and it's a great way to meet people. And personally, like in PAD, they bring in speakers, they bring in current lawyers, they bring in law students that you can like network with or just ask questions to learn more about like what specifically you're interested in. So I'd highly recommend joining whatever, pre-professional fraternity. It's not a fraternity in like the traditional sense where it's like only men and everything. It's more like a social group of people who are interested in the same thing.
Wonderful. I think that was a great description. One question that we are getting a few of is what kinds of application tips do you all might have? So I'm going to ask for you to think back a little bit when you were submitting and writing your comment applications. I can start us off. I will say we love when students, when they're working on their comment application, to make sure that it is, true to their voice. So really talking about what they're interested in. It's always helpful to, of course, have someone look over your application for an extra set of eyes, but make sure that your voice stays true. So that is my little piece of advice. But do any of you have any application tips that you remember doing when you were writing your comment applications?
I can help answer this one. I actually, as a Dornsife ambassador, we're actually able to participate in merit scholarship interviews. So I have read some applications who students who are eligible for merit scholarships, and we can tell when your essays speak to you. Like if they are inauthentic, if they're not truly representative of who you are, that's not going to cut it. Like they have to be like truly authentic to you and something you're interested in, and just speak your truth. Don't try to think about what the admissions officers want to see, but rather how you want to represent yourself to the school, because after all, it's about fit. It's not about like the top ranking school or the most impressive school, but rather one that fits best to you. And you don't have to necessarily write about like your something related to your major. I remember for Dornsife, I don't know if the essay question is still the same, but it was like if you had the audience of like 1,000 people and like you were able to speak about a topic, what would you speak about? And I remember I talked about factory farming, and like I'm not an environmental science major. I actually hate dirt in general, but it's something that I was passionate about. It's something that stuck with me in high school after this class I took. And I wrote about that because I was passionate about it. And I'm here now. So just write about something that you truly care about and something that truly reflects you. And that will do yourself justice in the very end.
Wonderful. Thank you for giving us that little piece of advice. Very helpful for those who are working on their applications now. Another question that we have, either to Dustin or to Sophie, is when did you decide that you wanted to change your major?
I can answer this. Like I mentioned before, I came into USC as an applied math major. Um, but I did know that I wanted to do law in the future. So I was taking calculus 3 and I was chugging through it, but I realized I met with like my pre-law advisor. I was in the PAD, the pre-law frat. I spoke to admissions officers at the law school fair that USC hosts, and I got advice from all of these different people through all the connections I made through USC's resources, through Dornsife's resources. And I was constantly asking people, should I stay in math? I like it, but with a math major, like your GPA is probably not going to be the best. And I was definitely experiencing that taking calculus 3. Should I stay in math and just keep going, or should I switch to a different major? Like, will that be better for my law school applications? And I pulled all the answers from all these people that I had talked to, and I realized that it was probably smart for me to change my major. And I also realized that I didn't necessarily want to do math for the next 4 years of my life. I like it, it's great, but that could definitely get too much for someone like me who's like, math isn't my entire life. So I think it's really personalized to everybody's experiences. I decided that pre-law and like economics was a better choice for me, but math might be a better choice for somebody else. So I think there's no set time where you need to change your major. I personally did it like second semester of my freshman year, but I mean, my friend just changed his major. He's a first semester junior. So you have time. You don't have to worry. USC and like the advising office will be here for you. They want you to explore and decide your path whenever that might happen.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sophie, for that great piece of advice. Really quickly, if you could briefly give us one thing that stood out to you all at USC or why you chose USC. I know that's a hard question to kind of wrap up, but we're cutting it close to time, and I want to make sure that we get that why in there.
I guess I can start for this one. For me, I think it's funny because for me, I had always envisioned myself going outside of California for college because I've always lived in LA and specifically like really close to USC because I live only like 3 miles away. But I think actually that was a lot of the driving factor as to why I chose USC because I think USC gave me a really amazing opportunity to fall back in love with the city that is my home, and being able to reconnect with the city and be able to see it from a different lens and learn from people that are also from LA, but also like being able to like experience LA with all of my friends who are not from LA and from different walks of life has been such a fun opportunity. And yeah, I don't, it might sound like a really silly answer, but being able to fall back in love with my home has been a really important reason as to why I chose USC and why I will always love USC.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brooke. We're cutting it close to time, so I do definitely want to get my thank yous in here. Thank you all to our students so much for joining us and submitting your questions. To everybody who is watching today, please keep in touch with us, especially if we weren't able to get to your questions. Make sure that you are reaching out to us. We just dropped our email and our website and our Instagram in the chat. If any of your questions fall under any of the topics that we discussed today, it would be a great opportunity to engage further with our office. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week and fight on.